Sometimes, history moves on a dime, not an announcement, not a revolution, just one tiny accident. Whether it was a misprinted cartridge or a debug line someone forgot to delete, or a throwaway decision made by a sleep-deprived dev at 3 a.m. Those little whoopsie moments have literally changed the entire industry in ways no one could have predicted. Today, we're diving into the butterfly effects of small mistakes that reprogrammed gaming history. And let's start with the most infamous of them all. Number 1, the glitch that created speedrunning. In Super Mario Bros., there's a now iconic glitch called the Minus World. A warped, glitched out level you can enter by doing a super specific jump in Worlds 1-2. You push Mario against the wall, crouch jump backwards, and suddenly, you're not where you're supposed to be. It was never meant to exist. The developers had a pipe destination coded incorrectly, and instead of taking you to the next area, it threw you into a bizarre, endlessly looping underwater level labeled World -1. It had all the assets of a normal level, fish, pipes, bricks, but it felt off. Haunted almost. And that was part of the magic. It didn't just feel like a bug, it felt like a secret. Something the game didn't want you to see. Players obsessed over it. Was it a hidden level, a developer test room, an evil copy of the Mushroom Kingdom? It sparked so many myths, fan theories, and most importantly, a mindset shift. If this was in Mario, what else could be hiding in other games? And that's when speedrunning culture started to form. Gamers started trying weird things, clipping into walls, pressing buttons in the wrong order, breaking boundaries, not to cheat, but to explore, to experiment. What began as one mistake in a level's warp data eventually evolved into an entire subculture. And now, we've got full speedrunning marathons, world record competitions, glitch showcases, all because of a random warp pipe that didn't work correctly. So if you love speedrunning and you didn't appreciate Mario before, now's the time to say thank you. Number 2. A broken difficulty setting that changed a franchise. Okay, let's talk about Resident Evil 4. Not for its over-the-shoulder gameplay or iconic village intro, but for the behind-the-scenes mistake that changed how the game played for everyone. During development, Capcom introduced something called a dynamic difficulty adjustment system, an internal feature meant to tweak enemy aggression and item drops depending on how well or poorly you were playing. The idea was that if you were doing too well, the game would subtly increase the pressure, and if you were dying a lot, it would ease it up a bit. Sounds smart, right? Except they never told anyone it was there. Players couldn't see it, there was no difficulty sliders, no warnings, and for a while, people just thought the game was randomly hard or easy. It turns out though, it wasn't random. The system would sometimes overcorrect, giving the player too much ammo when struggling, or suddenly overwhelming them with enemies when doing well. It made for wildly inconsistent playthroughs, but here's the twist though. Players liked it. The unpredictability made each encounter feel personal, and the game felt like it was adapting, even if it was doing it incorrectly. Developers at Capcom realized they had accidentally stumbled upon to one powerful concept: games that learn from the player and adjust in real time. The broken system would go on to influence not just later Resident Evil games, but modern roguelikes, shooters, and even horror pacing in titles like The Last of Us Part 2. Yes, it has that in that game as well. One poorly turned background mechanic, never meant to be noticed, helped us launch into an era of reactive, immersive gameplay. So the next time you play a Resident Evil game, thank them for changing the way gaming is forever. Number 3, one letter that made Doom happen. Okay, this one's for the code nerds and the FPS fans. Early in his career, ID Software's John Carmack was working on tech for a first-person dungeon crawler that would become Catacomb 3D. He was experimenting with how to render pseudo 3D environments on early PCs, which couldn't actually do 3D in real time. While tweaking memory allocation, he used a single letter variable, something like L or M, and accidentally pointed it at the wrong data buffer. The result? Jagged walls, erratic shadow behavior, flickering light. But instead of tossing the build, Carmack showed it to the rest of the team. And what they saw wasn't a bug, it was potential. The glitch gave them the idea to use lightning and shadows dynamically, to enhance atmosphere, to build dread, to add tension. And once they leaned into it, it became part of the signature look of Wolfenstein 3D and Doom. That tiny fluke sparked a creative path that turned into the most influential shooter engine of the early 90s. So yeah, one wrong letter and a memory pointer ended up birthing Doom and influencing literally every other FPS from Half-Life to Call of Duty. So put some respect on Doom's name, okay? It changed the FPS genre forever. Number 4, a save bug that spawned game testing as we know it. Okay, in The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, saving and quitting on the exact right frame caused a data misalignment that could warp the player to a random screen. People called it the screen warp glitch. What made this one legendary wasn't just that it broke the game, but that it could be controlled. Once players figured it out, they used it to break sequence, access locked areas, skip bosses, they even created new game states. And that freaked Nintendo out. Internally, the devs realized that something as small as a mistimed save could allow a player to rewrite the game world. They weren't just saving progress, they were saving logic. It forced the company to rethink how they handled save systems, memory buffering, and player inputs. More importantly though, it helped popularize the idea of QA as a core part of development. And if you don't know what QA is, it's quality assurance in game, aka game testing. Checking for bugs, running into a wall 50,000 times and seeing what happens before the game comes out. Game testers started searching for frame-perfect bugs, timing issues, and state corruptions that could ruin or exploit the gaming experience. Kind of similar to how speedrunners do the same thing from earlier in this video. You gotta love how it's two halves of the same coin. One's trying to save the game and one's trying to break the game. It's really just a balance of which one you would rather do. I think speedrunning's cooler. I'm gonna go with speedrun. The screen warp glitch became a case study, and it directly contributed to the rise of modern bug testing methods. A single frame save bug rewired how the entire industry handled gaming stability. So yeah, it was pretty important. Imagine you were playing Night Rain or something and you found a glitch to where maybe you hit this boss a certain way or save quit on a certain frame and you got infinite runes or you got infinite relics or something, I don't know. There needs to be a balance, okay? Number 5, an accident that gave us Sonic speed. You know Sonic, blue blur, gotta go fast, speed is everything. But in early builds of Sonic the Hedgehog, he didn't go fast. Not really. I mean, he ran, he jumped, but the gameplay was more like slower puzzle heavy platformer, more methodical Mario than Super Sonic Hedgehog. And then came a happy accident. One of the early test builds had a flaw in the rolling physics. When Sonic curled into a ball and went downhill, his momentum would compound. Instead of gradually slowing, he'd pick up speed rapidly. The longer the hill, the faster he went. Most developers would call that a bug, but Yuji Naka, Sonic's lead dev, he saw gold, and he was right. They redesigned the level to support this feeling of speed, adding loops, ramps, springs, tunnels, everything you could think of to make a speedster's dream come true. It became the core identity of the character and the franchise. That one physics bug, it birthed Sonic's brand. The music, the attitude, the ads, everything was built around that new identity. So no, Sonic wasn't designed to be fast from the start. He just rolled into it. Did you like that? Was that a good one? Did you like that one? Number 6. A multiplayer bug that invented emergent storytelling. Okay, back in September 2005, Blizzard released a new raid in World of Warcraft, and the final boss, Hakar the Soulflayer, had a unique mechanic. He could infect players with a debuff called the Corrupted Blood. It acted like a disease, contagious, ticking for damage over time, and it was meant to challenge coordination during the fight. But here's the thing, it was only supposed to exist within the confines of that raid. Once you left the dungeon, the infection was supposed to disappear. But Blizzard missed something. Pets and NPCs could retain the disease after the fight. And when players teleported back to major cities like Ironforge or Orgrimmar, they brought it with them. Suddenly, cities became war zones. Lower level characters would drop dead instantly. Healers frantically tried to save people. Some players acted like frontline medics, and others became digital patient zeros on purpose. We know who you are. Blizzard was witnessing what looked like a real outbreak, all sparked by an unintended oversight in how the debuff cleared. This didn't affect just one part of the game, this affected the entire game. The event spiraled. For days the game world was in chaos. Town squares piled up with skeletons, entire guilds evacuated cities, some players even set up impromptu quarantine zones. It wasn't just buggy, it was weirdly believable, kind of foreshadowed COVID. I might get demonetized for that. And it showed just how dynamic MMOs could be when you let systems speak for themselves. And here's the wildest part. Epidemiologists, real-world scientists, later studied this event, and they used it to examine how people behave during real outbreaks. The Corrupted Blood incident became an unexpected case study in human behavior, all because a virtual disease slipped through the cracks. Blizzard didn't patch it immediately, they watched, they learned, and the gaming world saw, maybe, for the first time how powerful emergent storytelling could be. This wasn't a cutscene, it wasn't scripted, but it felt real, and it all came from a bug in a boss fight. So yeah, sometimes it's not billion-dollar ideas that change gaming, sometimes it's a typo, a bug, a wrong number in the code. And without those tiny mistakes, no Sonic, no Doom, no Minus World, no speedruns, no pandemic roleplay in WoW. Now let me know in the comments if you know any other tiny mistakes that changed a game, or if you ever found a bug that made it better. I would love to hear what you have to say. Drop a like if your game's ever crashed in a crazy weird way, or if you ever found a bug or a glitch in a game that you kept secret and never told anyone about. I would love to know that. Please DM me or break the secret. I love learning new things about games. Anyway, it has been your boy Aura. I'll see you in the next one. I love you guys. Salud.